passion, obsession, love. Throw in some witches and a dash of opium and this symphony's got it all. Its author, Hector Berlioz, was the very embodiment of the Romantic era. His music was a profound departure from what came before and still sounds fresh to this day. But who is the real person who inspired Berlioz's creativity? Why did he feel the need to write a script to an instrumental work? Where's the dividing line between creative output and autobiography? Find out as we explore Hector Berlioz's early masterpiece, the Symphonie Fantastique. Symphonie Fantastique was composed in 1830 at the beginning of Hector Berlioz's career, just as he was finishing his studies at the Paris Conservatoire. It's a programmatic symphony, meaning that Berlioz actually wrote a script or a plot to help the listener understand his musical intentions. More on that in a moment. The title strikes the modern ear as being rather boastful, but actually it refers to the supernatural or surreal elements of the program rather than its quality. The term fantastique was also the name for a genre of French literature in the early 19th century in which the distinction between reality and the dream world was kept intentionally vague. Berlioz was a new kind of composer, perfectly suited to the Romantic era, which rejected the stoic reason of the previous age of enlightenment in favor of emotion, nature, mysticism, and the supernatural. This passage from his memoirs perfectly illustrates his artistic temperament. Under the combined influence of poetry, music, and association, I would work myself up into an incredible state of excitement. The triple intoxication always ended in floods of tears and uncontrollable sobbing. Side note, Berlioz was also a prolific writer. Besides the memoirs, he wrote a treatise on orchestration and a lot of music criticism. The main impetus for composing the Symphonie Fantastique was not a commission or a competition, but rather the most time-honored of reasons, to impress a woman. In 1827, Berlioz had seen a performance of Hamlet, which was given by a visiting English theater company. It was one of the first performances of Shakespeare in Paris. As he wrote in his memoirs, "Shakespeare, coming upon me unawares, struck me like a thunderbolt. The lightning flash of that discovery revealed to me at a stroke the whole heaven of art, illuminating it to its remotest corners." Playing the role of Ophelia was the beautiful and talented Irish actress Harriet Smithson. A subsequent performance in which Smithson played Juliet was enough for the young composer to fall madly in love, despite the small technicality of never having met her. Berlioz tried mightily to get Smithson's attention, but she spurned his every letter for years. Finally, he channeled his feelings into composing the Symphonie Fantastique. The quasi-autobiographical program follows the journey of a young musician as he yearns for a beloved woman who seems not to return the sentiments. The full program is as follows. Symphonie Fantastique uses a very large orchestra, more than double of what would have been a normal complement at the time period. It lasts about 50 minutes. It's clear that emotion is guiding the form much more so than traditional principles, although you can still find a classical symphonic structure if you look hard enough. The written program was really guiding Berlioz's creative choices, especially when it comes to instrumentation. He therefore felt compelled to include the text in the published program whenever he did a performance to help the audience to understand what he was trying to express. The first movement is built around a central melody that will reappear in all 5 movements of the symphony. Berlioz called this melody the idée fixe, and it represents the central protagonist's desperate love. It's an unhealthy, obsessive kind of love. In the 1830s, the term idée fixe referred to a kind of mental illness. So even though it's very beautiful, this melody, there's something a little unsettling about it. Let's listen to the first appearance of the idée fixe, especially listen to the accompaniment in the cello and basses. It's like a thumping heartbeat. It's viscerally portraying the excitement and the passion of our protagonist. second movement is a dance movement, but instead of being based on a minuet or a scherzo like in earlier times, it's based on the waltz. In the midst of it all, we get another statement of the idée fixe. It's almost like spotting the beloved from across a crowded dance floor. This movement is also notable for being one of the first appearances of the harp in a symphony. The harp was an instrument that was previously only used in ballet or opera as kind of a special effect. The third movement is a beautiful pastoral, and it opens with one of Berlioz's signature moments, a duet between an English horn on stage and an oboe that's off stage, the two sounding like two shepherds that are calling to one another across a great distance. This movement is the emotional centerpiece of the symphony, maybe the closest to Berlioz's own feelings. This duet from the beginning returns at the end after a long journey, except that we only hear half of it. The oboe part is missing, and in its place, the timpani rumble like ominous thunderclouds. In the fourth movement, the program starts to get really wild. The protagonist has taken opium and dreamed that he has murdered his beloved and is being led to his own execution as a consequence. The music is massive, triumphant, sarcastic. There's a quality of thumbing one's nose at the would-be executioners in this music. I think we can perceive Berlioz's sardonically funny self-awareness here, although you never quite know with him if he's being funny or deadly serious. The movement ends with a vivid depiction of the guillotine final blow interrupting a forlorn reappearance of the idée fixe. In the fifth movement of the symphony, we are transported completely into the supernatural realm. The idée fixe returns, but it is now a caricature of itself played by the E-flat clarinet. Various witches and demons and other nasty creatures appear. And there's a witches' dance which is inaugurated by the Dies Irae, the traditional Gregorian chant, which is highly symbolic of death. Bells sound from offstage. Again, Berlioz expanding the orchestra for special effects. The finale of this piece is an absolute deluge of brass and percussion and fiery woodwinds and strings. If you've never had the chance to hear this live, get yourself to a concert hall and experience it as soon as possible. The premiere was in 1830 and took the Parisian music world by storm. Although the symphony's muse, Harriet Smithson, was notably absent, despite Berlioz's best efforts at getting her to attend. It would be another 2 years before she saw a performance of the symphony and was finally won over by the composer's passion and talent. In the end, the two were actually married, but the marriage didn't end quite as happily as the young musician might have hoped. Hey, at least it didn't end in murder. Or, as far as we're aware at least, in any voyages to the supernatural realm. One can see from the program that the dividing line between Berlioz's own feelings and his creative imagination was very thin indeed. Aside from the scenes of murder and the supernatural, the music in the program read as genuine expressions of his own feelings. The brilliance of this symphony lies not just in its ingenuity, but also in the vividness with which Berlioz brings his musical ideas to life. His mastery of orchestration is a big part of this. We can see how he really expanded the boundaries of what is possible in an orchestra. The merging of very human emotions with the fantastical elements of the last two movements is also incredibly striking. In the best traditions of epic storytelling, we end in a place far, far removed from where we began. With this incredibly effective and innovative work, Berlioz set the tone for the next century of European symphonic music and took his place as one of the artistic heroes of the Romantic era. Although the rest of his music has faded somewhat in popularity over the years, this piece has remained an absolute staple of the repertoire, as vivid and evocative now as it was 2 centuries ago. So what do you think? Is it necessary to know the program in order to fully enjoy this piece? There's so much to talk about with Symphonie Fantastique. I could have done a much longer video. Is that something that you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to do all the YouTube things. I'm Daniel Black. Thanks for watching.